And Gaston right here, back at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about this Canon behemoth that I have in my hand. We're talking about the Canon RF 85mm F1.2 USM lens, and this particular lens is the lens that really got me back to the Canon system. And why is that? Well, it's such an incredible lens, and I want to tell you everything I like about the lens and the things that I don't like, so why don't we get started? And welcome back, fellas. My name is Gaston. I am a photographer from Miami. I do gear reviews, tutorials, and behind the scenes. So if you like the content that you see in this channel, hit the subscribe and notification button so you can be notified every time a video goes up. First things first, how much is the lens, Gaston? Well, when I first got this lens, it was $2,700.
What?
And now you can still find the lens for $2,700. That's a lot of money to pay for a lens, but actually I was searching the internet and you can get this lens for around $2,100 and sometimes even less.
I'm indignant as a consumer.
Now, Amazon, you're gonna find it for $2,700, you know, B&H, Adorama, but if you look around the web, there's some websites that are actually running sales. Now, if you think this lens is actually very expensive, Canon has an even more expensive option, which is the Canon RF 85mm F1.2 USM DS. The DS stands for defocus smoothing and is intended to be a lens for shooting super shallow, and what it does, it even smooths away even more the bokeh, which in my opinion, actually an overkill and not worth the extra $300. So this is one of the lenses that I actually picked up at the store and I actually had the chance to compare both the lenses, but to be honest with you, I did not see a lot of bokeh magic going on just for spending another $300, so I went with this version. All right, why don't we talk about some of the main features of this lens? Whew. Anyway, so this lens features an 85mm focal length, which happens to be one of my favorite focal lengths. The maximum aperture on this lens, like I mentioned before, is an f1.2 with a minimum aperture of f16. So this lens is going to be great for low light situations. It's going to let in plenty of light, exposing that sensor and give you incredible amount of background separation. And now, if you're a photographer like myself that you love to get off with the bokeh, well, this lens is going to deliver. One more thing to keep in mind is that the filter thread that this lens uses is an 82mm, and I happen to have the filter thread from my Sony 24-70 f2.8. Yeah, I uses the same one, and that is something that here in Miami when shooting outdoor, you know, I needed sometime. And even though the Canon EOS R shoots up to an 8,000 of a shutter speed, in many situations I found myself having to install the ND filter here. So keep that in mind if you're gonna get this lens and try to get a good quality ND filter or polarizer. One more thing that I actually noticed the first time I started shooting with this lens is that the lens breathes a little bit, or kind of like zooms a little bit when acquiring focus. So this lens features a maximum magnification of 0.12x. Now the diaphragm of this lens is composed by 9 blades. Hey, that means something for you, 9 blades, remember that. Now let's talk about the size of this lens, because this one is a chunky one. This one is 103mm across and 117mm high. So this lens is on the heavier size and big chunky size of lens. And now, comparing it with my Sony 85mm f1.4, which actually I have a video right there if you want to check out, is substantially bigger, probably 30% bigger than that lens. So I say that because when I got that lens, I thought it was super big, but this one actually is way bigger. It's my biggest 85mm. Now let's talk about the weight on this lens, and this lens is actually on the heavier side. It features a whopping 1,200 grams of weight, and you're gonna feel it when shooting with this lens. Now let's talk about the optical construction for this lens. It features 13 elements in 9 groups. Yeah, there's a lot of glass in there, and the other thing is that the lens is non-stabilized. I'm saying that with deep sadness because this is such a great lens to shoot video, and the EOS R does not have in-body image stabilization, so it is what it is. Hopefully with the EOS R5, this is going to be completely different. All right, why don't we dive up and close with this lens and start dissecting, you know, the different features of the body. So first of all, you're gonna notice that you have this little red ring right there, and that stands for L glass. Usually it means expensive, and it also means really good quality of glass. Right over here, we have a configurable ring. You know, you can use it for your aperture, you can use it for your ISO, you know. So you can change the functionality of this ring from the camera. I personally do not use this ring much. Now, next up is the focusing ring, which happens to be pretty decent and pretty nice. It has a nice and smooth feel. Moving forward here, we have an autofocus and manual focus switch. Right over here, we have a focus limiter, and we don't have any type of button or anything that we can configure from the camera. Now, one of the things that you need to see over here is that the back glass elements flushes right with the mount. So this is one of the reasons why I think these lenses are so sharp, because this glass sits right next to the sensor, really close. All right, so why don't we talk a little bit about the construction of this lens and the material. So you're gonna see that you have some sort of metallic material right here, like aluminum for the filter thread. Then the entire chassis of the body seems to be done of some sort of polymer, and it actually feels a little bit plasticky, but it's actually really good quality. And as a matter of fact, I appreciate the fact that they haven't used more metal here, because it will make this lens even heavier. Now, this ring right here that you can configure is made out of some sort of metal, like maybe magnesium or aluminum. You have rubber right here on the ring. All the switches are made out of plastic. You have some sort of magnesium here in this part of the lens. And the mount seems to be made out of stainless steel. So we have tons of different materials, and the lens feels really premium. All right, guys, so why don't we talk a little bit about ergonomics of this lens, because there is a lot to say about this lens when it comes to ergonomics. First of all, this lens is a little bit chunky, it's a little bit girthier, so you're gonna start feeling the lens taking a toll on your hands, you know, past the 30 minutes timeline. So because of the EOS R great ergonomics, you know, I find it pretty manageable if you're not gonna be shooting longer than that. However, if you're gonna be one of those photographers, you know, taking long sessions, what I recommend you do is install one of those big designs or wrist straps with the strap that allows you to lock the wrist towards the grip, and that wrist strap is gonna save your hand, and that's what I have installed almost all my camera. I just happened to remove it from this one. While the lens is actually heavy, and I wish it was a little bit lighter, to be honest with you, it's nothing like the 105 Sigma F1.4 that I own. That lens is actually 3 pounds, and this one happens to be my second heaviest prime lens. Nonetheless, incredible quality, incredible bokeh, and super sharp, so it gets shot all the time, and I use it pretty often. Next up, let's talk about the focusing performance of this lens. And by far, this is the best 85mm that Canon had ever developed when it comes also to the focusing department. So this lens features the USM technology, you know, the ultrasonic motor, the linear fast motion. So it's supposed to be also quieter, and Canon claims that this lens has a quiet focusing performance, but in my opinion, that's not the case. And look at the size of the elements right here. Now, all that glass is actually moving fast and stopping when you are acquiring focus, and remember that it also magnifies a little bit. So you have sudden motion of the elements in the lens, and I want to let you take a listen so you can appreciate what I'm talking about. See what I'm talking about? That click that you listen is actually the glass stopping suddenly, and that's what it actually causing the camera to jerk a little bit every time the glass stops. So for me, it's not gonna be a problem. For most photographers, it's not gonna be a problem. For those that shoot video with an external recorder, it's not gonna be a problem. It may be a problem only when you're shooting on-camera microphone. That may actually introduce some of the sound and vibration to your footage, but you know, nonetheless, you know, great focusing performance, and you know, something to expect from a $2,700 lens. All right, so why don't we talk about the optical design of this lens, because I consider it a marvel of optical engineering. Now, one of the things that you're gonna notice when reviewing your images for the first time is the sharpness of the images all across the frame. So this lens is going to give you images that are not soft in the corners. You know, it's super sharp. Also, you're gonna get minimal barrel distortion, you know, especially when you try to apply the Lightroom correction. You're gonna feel that it's very minimal what it changes. Purple fringing, green fringing, that's not a problem with this lens. And one of the things that I really like this lens and why I use this lens so much, especially when shooting outdoors, is because, you know, when shooting in front of towards frontless situations, you're not gonna get ghosting or flaring that quick. You really have to force this lens to flare. So you know, maybe that's one of the reasons why this lens is so big, because all that glass is really accomplishing all those features that I just mentioning really well. So who is this lens for? And the answer is very simple in my book. If you are one of those artists looking for the best telephoto for Canon, look no further. The 85mm RF f1.2 is an incredible lens, and by far this is the best 85mm lens that Canon had ever designed, period. So this stays along with the 50mm as my favorite top pick for the RF mount. And if you're a photographer that's looking for the utmost quality, whether you're a portrait photographer, fashion photographer, wedding photographer, wildlife photographer, or anyone that's requiring great quality of image with the least amount of artifacts, this is the lens to go and you cannot go wrong. So I hope you had enjoyed this video, guys. This is it for today, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this one. Also hit that notification button so you get that notification popping on your phone. You can find me on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Gaston Shutter. So once again, thank you for watching. Stay safe, away from that corona. See you later.